Be your own light. In a small village surrounded by lush green fields, there lived a young boy named Ethan. He was kind, hardworking, and always willing to help others. However, there was one thing that made him unhappy. He constantly compared himself to those around him. Ethan admired his best friend, Lucas, for always being at the top of the class. He envied Daniel, a wealthy boy in the village who wore the finest clothes and had expensive toys. Even when he saw Oliver, the fastest runner in the village, he felt disappointed in himself. Every day, as he looked in the mirror, Ethan would ask himself, "Why can't I be like them? Why don't I have any special talents?" Over time, these thoughts consumed him. He lost confidence, lost interest in studying, and stopped helping his parents on the farm. He withdrew from others, feeling like he would never be as good as those he admired. The meeting with the carpenter. One day, while wandering through the village, Ethan saw an old carpenter named Mr. Bennett carving a wooden statue. Mr. Bennett was known for his incredible craftsmanship and had made many beautiful creations for the village. Curious, Ethan approached and asked, "What are you making, sir?" The old man looked up, smiled, and replied, "I am shaping something unique so that every piece of wood has its own beauty, and I am simply helping it reveal its true form." Ethan looked around at the different wooden logs. Some were tall and straight, while others were crooked or had cracks. "But why don't you use only the perfect pieces of wood?" Ethan asked. Mr. Bennett chuckled. "There is no such thing as a perfect piece of wood, Ethan. What matters is not how it looks at first, but how we shape it into something beautiful." Seeing Ethan deep in thought, the carpenter added, "You are just like these pieces of wood. Instead of comparing yourself to others, focus on discovering your own strengths." The lesson from the river. Although Ethan was impressed by Mr. Bennett's words, he still didn't fully understand. A few days later, he returned and asked, "But sir, if I don't compare myself to others, how will I know if I'm good or not?" Mr. Bennett smiled and led Ethan to a nearby river. Pointing to the flowing water, he asked, "What do you see?" Ethan replied, "I see the river flowing. It's beautiful." Mr. Bennett continued, "Do you think this river ever compares itself to the mountains or the fields?" Ethan shook his head. "The river doesn't need to be tall like the mountains, nor does it need to be vast like the fields," Mr. Bennett explained. "It simply flows in its own way, and in doing so, it brings life to the entire village. If it spent all its time wishing to be a mountain, it would never realize its own importance." Ethan's eyes widened in realization. For the first time, he understood that he had been so focused on what others had that he had failed to see his own worth. From that day on, Ethan decided to stop comparing himself to others. Instead of wishing to be as smart as Lucas, he focused on his own strength, his determination, and hard work. Instead of wanting to be rich like Daniel, he learned to appreciate what he already had and helped his parents with their work. And instead of envying Oliver, he found joy in the things he was truly passionate about. Each day, Ethan set small goals for himself and worked towards them. He no longer worried about being better than someone else. He only cared about becoming a better version of himself. Success through his own path. Years passed, and Ethan grew into a skilled carpenter, just like Mr. Bennett. His work was not only beautiful, but also reflected his creativity and dedication. Soon, people in the village began to admire him, not because he was better than anyone, but because he had embraced his own unique path. One day, a young boy came to him and said, "Ethan, I always feel like I'm not as good as others. What's the secret to success?" Ethan smiled, remembering the wisdom Mr. Bennett had once shared with him. He replied, "Don't try to be someone else. If a fish tries to fly like a bird, it will always fail. But if it learns to swim well, it can rule the entire ocean. Find your own strengths and develop them. That's how you will truly shine." The boy fell silent, deep in thought. Ethan knew that he had just planted the seed of change in another person's heart, just as Mr. Bennett had done for him many years ago. The lesson to remember: life is not a competition to see who is the fastest, the smartest, or the richest. Everyone has their own journey and their own unique value. If we spend all our time looking at others, we will never recognize the beauty within ourselves. Instead of comparing yourself to others, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Because your light does not need to be like anyone else's. It only needs to shine brightly enough to illuminate your own path.